G'day everyone, Spud here from Spud's Old Games. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to go out to the garage, pick some parts, and we're going to build ourselves a Windows 98 machine. Let's go. So first of all, thanks for everyone who watched the last video. It was the first video I'd made in a long time, nearly 12 months as a matter of fact. So I think it's had nearly 700 views already. So that's really pleasing. I didn't think it would get that many, but obviously there's a lot more people out there interested in 486 machines than I thought there were, so that's good. I had a lot of messages on social media about building up a Windows 98 machine because I had so many parts in the garage. They thought, you know what, you've done a 486, send me messages, can you build me or build a Windows 98 machine and show us what you've got? So I thought, you know what, why not? So before we go out to the garage, I just want to say Windows 98 machines are very subjective in regards to what's awesome and what's not so awesome. What I find awesome, you guys might not find awesome, but what I will try and do is build a machine that's both very stable and suited to Windows 98 gaming. Now, I'm not really interested in it being compatible with DOS games. DOS compatibility will be good. But it's not the sole purpose to have, you know, every DOS game play on this machine, because I have a 486 machine for that now. So my goal here is to build a Windows 98 machine. It doesn't necessarily have to be the fastest machine, because Windows 98 sort of topped out, all the games topped out at about, you know, anywhere up to sort of 233 to 400 megahertz. And then you started getting into Windows XP games. So I'm not saying that Windows 98 machines don't go faster or shouldn't go faster than that, but you know, I want to make this machine, I suppose, as period correct as I can. Try and get some nice features in there as well. But you know, it's not all about the fastest and the best machine. For me, it's going to be all about stability and the machine that can basically play as many of those games as behind me as I can without any issues whatsoever. So now let's go to the garage. We'll go and pick out some parts and then we'll start to put it together. So here we are out of the garage. Yeah, it's a mess still, as you can see. There's a lot of stuff I need to go through and sort out. So while I'll do that, I'll park you guys on pause. I'll go through the motherboard, sound cards, do some research and put together what I think is going to be the best machine for me. And then I'll come back and I'll show you what I've picked out. Okay, first up, let's talk motherboards. This is the one that I've decided to run with. Already has a CPU in it. Let's bring it out to the light. It's the famous ABit ABit BH6. I've used these boards before. These are super stable. You can't go wrong with it. And as well, I think this has a 500 megahertz processor in there, or is it a 550? It's a 550. 100 megahertz front side bus. I'm hoping this is all been put together and tested. If not, obviously I'll be doing that inside anyway. I have to find some RAM for it. But this is the motherboard and CPU combo I've gone for. This motherboard, it can be, the BIOS can be upgraded to accept, I think, about up to 850, even higher megahertz. But even if this hasn't been flashed, I'm going to sort of keep it at 550. I know I used these before. 550 was really stable. You know, and I really don't need anything upwards of that anyway for Windows 98 gaming. So it's a slot 1, and it also has, if I want to use PCI, it also has this Sound Blaster link down here that we can use. So yeah, we'll be running with this motherboard, and next we'll go look at the other components I've picked. So this is the video card I'll be running through. This probably needs no introduction. Found this in the AGP video card pile. It's a Voodoo 3 3000 with the TV out on it, so you know, it probably needs no more further explanation. I'm pretty sure you guys will know this one, and it's pretty much suited to exactly what I need. So that's the video card we're going to run with. So next up, we're talking sound cards, and I've gone with this Audigy 2ZS, and the main reason is I've got two of these headers here. One's the Live and one's the Audigy 2. So I'm going to go with the Audigy 2. I've used the Lives before and they are good for Windows 98 gaming. The only reason I'm running with the Audigy 2 ZS is because I haven't used these before. I've heard good things about them. Not super compatible in DOS, but someone has written some drivers for it, and I do like these gold connectors. So I'm going to give this a crack, and also too, the SB1394 cable, it actually is included with the Audigy 2, the case 5.25 bay. So that's good. That's a pretty hard cable to find. So we're going to run with the Audigy 2. If I can't get the Audigy 2 to work, then I will obviously change that and we'll go with a live. Okay, for CD-ROMs, I've actually got these inside. There's a couple to choose from. We've got the infra 52 here, times. We've got the DXR2, which I'm not sure what speed that is. But that gives the added benefit of DVD as well. There's a couple of others here, and if I go out the back as well, that's only a 4-speed or hex speed. So I've got a hex speed. I think there's a quad speed here. That's a quad speed. I was going to go at the back and have a look in the tray and see what other creative ones we've got. But it'll be definitely use one of those. And those creative ones are notoriously for not working. So it'll be pretty much whichever one I can get working. If we come out to some of the cases, you'll see I've got more creative stuff here. There's another 32 there. And then if I go to the box here of CD-ROMs, we've also got a whole bunch of other creatives. I think there's one here somewhere. That's not one. There's one, I think, over the back there. There's one down there. So I'm pretty much going to pull all these out. There's also a nice Pioneer one in here somewhere too. Just there. I do like that front slot loader. There's another creative one. She's a bit yellow, that one, but that might not be on the cards to use. But there's another Pioneer one there as well. So yeah, we're going to... CD-ROMs aren't a huge deal breaker for me, but I'd like to use a creative, so if I can get one working, then we'll be using it. As a bonus, as you might have seen in the last video, I couldn't find this box, but I've managed to find it. So if I can get that infra 52 working, I actually do have the box and all the inserts and install CDs and whatnot. So yeah, hopefully that one works. Okay, so just for hard drive, I've got an 8GB compact flash card I'm going to use here, IDE compact flash card, or IDE 2 compact flash, with the rear adapter there. So I'm just going to use that for the hard drive. 8GB will be plenty. One thing I'll also use, and I found this in the box of bits, or one of the 50 boxes of bits, was this bracket fan. So this just clips into the brackets at the back, and it just powers off the power supply, plugs to those Molex connectors. I'm going to mount this directly below the 3DFX. From my experience, they can get pretty hot, those Voodoo 3, so it will suck the hot air through this fan and then blow it out the back. So I'm going to mount this directly straight underneath that AGP slot to hopefully help cool that Voodoo 3. Okay, so we've got all the stuff ready on our test bench. I like to test all this stuff on the bench before I go ahead and put it in the case, just to make sure everything works. You can see there we've got the Voodoo in the AGP slot. I haven't got a sound card in. I don't do the sound card installation until everything else is done. It's pretty much the last thing I do. I've got the CPU plugged in. We've got a test power supply over here. And then we've also got our, I'll just move the camera. We've also got our CD-ROM, and at the back, you can see at the back there, we've got our compact flash. So I'm not using a master slave setup here. I'm using 2 direct masters, one on either IDE channel. There's 2 IDE channels. I'm not going to worry about plugging in the fan just yet. We're not going to be running any strenuous games for a little while, so the Voodoo should be okay as is for the moment. But the main purpose of this is we want to test A, it boots up okay. I have put a new CMOS battery in there. B, displays okay. We can set it up. It detects the hard drive, and we can boot Windows 98, the CD from the actual CD-ROM itself. So if I can get to that stage on the test bench, then what I'll probably do is throw it all together in a case, and then I know everything's working, then I'll start installing some stuff. Okay, so let's give this a boot. I'm just going to use a screwdriver, a little terminal screwdriver, just to bridge some pins here to do the soft power on. Give it a crack. Powers up. I see the green light on the monitors come on, which is good. Just going to keep pressing delete here because that should get us into the CMOS setup. Actually, before we do that, make sure it does RAM okay. Oh, we're in the CMOS setup anyway, so it has booted. I'm not sure exactly what size RAM stick I put in there. First thing we want to do with these BH6s is set the CPU. So at the moment, default, that's what it is before just BIOS default. So we don't want to go user defined. Hopefully there should be a 550 megahertz for, there we go, for 100. That's the one we're using. I know this one has a 2 volt CPU voltage. I don't want to overclock it. Another good thing about these BH6 boards is you can overclock quite easily. It's all done through the BIOS. You don't need to set any weird jumpers on the motherboard. Just jump out of that. We're going to detect our hard disk, hopefully. And it hasn't detected. That's because I haven't plugged it in. Okay, so go back to the soft menu. 550, escape out of that. And it should detect now. There we go, it is an 8 gig, so that's good. Yes, for that one. The rest of them should be just no, no, no. Okay. One other thing we want to do is we want to go in here, set the date and time, obviously. There we go. Set this as 9. There we go. That's already defaulted there. We can see that the hard drive's gone in there. Now, because I'm running a master on my secondary IDE, I need to set that as auto as well. If I don't set that as auto, then it won't be looking for it at BIOS. So it may not be the case with every motherboard, but I find if I leave them as none, it won't boot off a CD-ROM. So I have to leave that one on auto. I can switch them all to auto, but it will go through on the checks and try and search for them all. But really, I only want to search for the one that it's on. So we're going to just do that one. And I haven't got a floppy at the moment plugged in, so I don't want to put up any errors there. So I'll just mark none there. And we want to go into here and we want to be booting from our CD-ROM. So we've done all that now. We're just going to save and exit. And this should at least get us through. I haven't put the Windows 98 CD in. Okay, I've just turned it on, put the Windows 98 CD in. I can hear it spinning up nicely. Okay, so we've got, it looks like the CD-ROM is now working. So we're just going to boot from CD-ROM. And we want to boot CD-ROM without CD-ROM because we want to send this to our A drive prompt. We want to type in fdisk here, and very similar to the DOS install. We want to enable large disk, yes. We want to delete any partitions that are on there at the moment, so hopefully there's only one DOS partition on there, which there is. It's that, it's not called anything on the volume label, and yes, we want to delete it. So that's been deleted. Just make sure there's nothing else on there, there's no other partitions on there. So now we'll create one of our own. It'll run through. Does this quite quickly, being Compact Plash. Okay, so we've now deleted the partition that was on there and created a fresh new one for Windows to install on. So I'm just going to reset this. Boot back up. It's only 32 meg, that memory stick, so I'll have to upgrade that, but that's all right for now. So we're going to boot from CD-ROM again. This time we're going to start Windows 98 setup from the CD-ROM. Okay, so it's brought us here. We need to format. Going to go ahead and through and format that. We'll do that and then I'll come back. Righto, that's formatted. Go through to the next steps. It'll check all this. One thing, if I hadn't fdisked that and it was this was straight out the packet, that Compact Plash card, sometimes it already has a DOS partition on it. I'm assuming this one's been used before because it had Windows 98 on it, but sometimes it will have its own DOS partition. Always delete that and redo it. I've had so many issues if that doesn't happen. So we're just going to go through with the Windows install. It's all pretty straightforward. If there's any issues that it comes across, I am pretty used to sorting through most issues that these throw up. So if I do come across any, but otherwise, what I'll do towards the end of the install, I'll bring the video back on. Right, I think it's done its last little restart. Good thing about Windows 98 is it just restarts on its own after a certain amount of time. So this now should take us straight into Windows. I'll have to change that in the BIOS, but we boot from hard disk. All up, about 20 minutes it takes to install Windows 98 on something like this machine. And there it is. So I'm not going to put a password. Just click OK. Trying to detect the monitor. This part isn't really important, detecting the monitor. It'll just put it up as a generic VGA monitor. I'm sure I could find a Windows 98 driver for this if I wanted to. But there is no A drive, so this will cancel itself in a second. There we go. One thing I do recommend is, even if you're good with tabbing and whatnot through the Windows 98 installation, always put a mouse in. Because if you do it after Windows installs, then you need to reinstall the auto detect and go through the whole process again. So always have your mouse installed when you start the Windows 98 installation. We hit finish there, and then we should get our Windows. Come up any second now after it finishes updating. We'll get the welcome screen and whatnot. We won't get any sound through it because we haven't installed the sound card yet, but there we go. So Windows 98 is successfully installed on this PC. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to undo everything, put it inside a case, which I forgot to show you before which case I picked out, so I'll do that now. And then we'll work on getting the sound card installed. Okay, so this is the case I decided to run with. Someone has kindly already put a gel, bubble or raised 3D effects label there, which is nice of them. Has the Pentium 3 label, but it's a fairly generic sort of case, which I like. There's very, very minimal yellowing, if any. Not many dings. I can see one just here, but yeah, that's not a killer. We're going to get that with old cases like this, but it hasn't got all the massive scratches and whatnot. These are just where I've cleaned it. That'll wipe off. So it's in pretty good condition. So does someone, whoever did it before, put a black power supply in there? I might change that out to a silver power supply. And I'll probably change this form card here to suit the BH6. This one will suit it anyway, but the BH6 doesn't have this bit down the bottom here. So, but anyway, that's neither here or there. Okay, so we've now got everything loaded into the PC. It's a little bit ugly like the last one was, but got a little hard drive here. Underneath here, Compact Plash coming out the back, got the fan, got the Voodoo. Now the fan actually only covers about half the Voodoo heatsink, but it's better than nothing. I might even move them all down a slot just to give a bit of room between the fan and the Voodoo, but anyway, I don't think it's going to be that much of a difference. Then we come around to the front, got our CD-ROM loaded in, and we've also got our Audigy 2 front panel. I've also put a GoTech in here, so I've made GoTech my A. This little 1.44 megabyte 3.5 inch drive is going to be my B drive. I'm not going to have a proper B drive. I don't really need one. The GoTech can do the large 5.25 floppy images as well as the 3.5. They cover off on everything, so there's no real point in me putting another one in there. So the only thing that's left to do is give it a quick test. Everything turns on okay. I have set it here to, I'll just zoom in a little bit, to floppy seek, which you could probably just hear then. So both the drives are working, and then we should boot straight into Windows. There it is there. So fairly quick boot there. So I'm pretty happy with that. What I'm going to do before I put the sound card in, I'm actually going to load the Voodoo drivers. So let's do that now. Okay, so when you first put your installation CD in, this is the screen that you're greeted with. Now, I accidentally installed these and I didn't hit record, so I'll reinstall them for you. Obviously, where it says reinstall Voodoo 3 driver, it will say install for you guys, same as reinstall Microsoft DirectX 7. Do both of those first. Make sure you do DirectX 7 because these don't work very well with DirectX 6, I found. So make sure you install that, and then you can install the tools and the Mini GL. So I was just going through the installation process now of the drivers. It'll ask me to reset. It might even reset on its own. I can't remember. There we go. So the driver is now installed. You can obviously tell that. Just a quick check here. Right click, properties, and then hit settings. You'll see there it's now on 3DFX Voodoo 3. Let's just change that to 32-bit. We'll change it to 1200 by... Yeah. Okay, I'm just looking at the camera. It might be a bit small for you guys, but that's alright. I won't install DirectX 7 again because it's already installed. You can always type in DXDIAG and it will tell you DirectX 7 that you've got on here. Now down the bottom I can see DirectX 7 has been installed, so that's fine. Just work your way through the installation CD. If I click on this and then click auto run, it'll take us back to that main menu. The 3DFX tools install some stuff where you can adjust your screens, your RGBs and whatnot. So I suggest installing that. And then the open, I think it's Open Mini GL or Glide or whatever it is. Install that as well because it makes Quake run really well as well. So I highly recommend you install that as well. Okay, so back at this screen, just install the tools next, and then Mini GL. Well, I'll stop the camera. I'll do it now, and then we'll come back and we'll have a play with what they actually do. So once we install the Mini GL files, it'll create a 3DFX Mini GL on the desktop for some games there that use it, particularly Quake 2, Hexen 2, Heretic 2, Half-Life, and GL Quake. So we might give GL Quake and Quake 2 a go in a minute. But now everything from the 3DFX perspective has been installed. I'll just jump out of the CD itself. So I'll just close that down. Okay, and I should be able to go back into properties. And if I hit settings here and hit advanced, you can see there's these buttons at the top, and I'll just zoom in a little bit here. You can see where my mouse pointer is. I'll actually just move the camera down a little bit. You got some 3DFX tools, a 3DFX TV there for the TV outs there. You've also got, it wasn't color management, it wasn't the info, it was the tweaks. So this is where I was talking about before. And the rest of it's, yeah, neither here or there. But all the 3DFX stuff is now installed. We will do the sound drivers next. So here we are now. I've installed the sound card, and apologies for the audio change. I forgot to actually record audio while I was filming this, but just showing here that it's now been installed. And there's an IDE cable that goes from the audio extension at the back of the card, and it goes up to that little 5.25 bay up the top there, which is also marked as audio extension. That's why there's a plethora of IDE cables there you can see. But it's just a straightforward, there's nothing special about that cable. The only thing you have to be aware of is that you orientate it the same way. You can just see two little dots there, that's marking the one where it is. So the red stripe on the IDE cable goes on that side. So this is what we're greeted with when we use the install CD that I'll link you guys to. There is a whole heap of information, and it's essentially just a Soundburst Live installation combined with an Audigy 2 installation, because the Live had the DOS drivers on it. Actually, no, the Audigy 1, sorry, had the DOS drivers on it. But we actually used the Audigy 2 install CD. So it's a bit of a combination that someone's generated from Vogons, and it makes installation pretty easy. But you have to follow the steps. So I'll link the web page that you go to outlines all the steps. But here I'm just showing the first thing you need to do is install the Creative Installer, which is this one here that you can see that I click on. This will allow you to now install other creative stuff as well. So that's the first thing I'm demonstrating here. And you'll see I'll just click out of this one. Once this is done, then we're going to go ahead and install DirectX 9. Now the Voodoo will also run fine with DirectX 9, but the Audigy 2 definitely needs DirectX 9. So once again, the instructions will be linked, so you don't have to worry about it too much, but there's a DirectX folder there. Click on DirectX Setup, and then we'll just run through that process. Okay, next up we want to install the VXD drivers, so just click on this one here, which should open this window up, and don't click, make sure we're not on WDM, we're on VXD. And we'll override any other creative ones. So driver installation, okay. Okay, so I need to put 64 megabyte of RAM into my computer. So let's do that. Okay, so we're back again. I've just installed a 256 megabyte stick, so we should be right now. Programs, Windows Explorer, we'll go to our D drive, audio, drivers, and we'll try this again. Okay, VXD, yes, okay. And now this does take a little while, so don't freak out if this freezes up. This can take a good 5 minutes from what I'm understanding the research and what I've seen. So if you don't think anything's happening, just wait, and then you'll see a screen pop up that says, do you want to restart? So once that happens, hit yes. I'll show you that when we get to it. So there we go, that's what it looks like when it's all done. So you just hit OK to restart. Okay, so after reboot, we should get something that looks like this. Please wait. Hopefully we get some sound. I've got the speakers there. Maybe got the volume turned down a bit. Okay, so I'm just going to give this another quick restart because I've just had to reseat the card. Hopefully we get some sound here. Going to take the microphone off. Restarting. Oh, there we go, got sound. It's good. Okay, now we need to load in some of the applications, creative applications, so we'll go through and do that next. Okay, so I've just decided to put everything in its case. I think it's going to be easy that way now. I don't need the case open anymore. So I've just, you'll see from the last video, it's in the same spot. I've just changed the keyboard to an IBM PS2 keyboard and the mouse. Obviously, I've left my roll-on devices there. They won't be used at this stage, but I need the speakers there as well. So I'll just set the camera up, and what we're going to do next is we're going to install our creative software, and then we'll go through and install the DOS drivers. So here we are back at our Audigy drivers, a driver CD, and we're going to install all the creative utilities that we're going to need. So There's one called Audio HQ. There's another one called EAX console. There's one that changes the speaker settings. We can restore defaults. A sound mixer, a sound font bank, and there's also another speaker settings one. So there is a few to do, but they're all located in here, and they're under different things. So for instance, the Audio HQ setup would be under Audio HQ, as you can see there. We'll do that one first, but then all the rest of them, like we've got EAX Con was here, we've got speaker setups, we've got the manager there, so it's all in here, but they all are listed on Vogons on how to do them. So what I'm going to do is install each application now, or program, and then I'll come back once they're all done. So once they're all installed, they should be on your programs bar now under creative, and that's all the programs there, creative programs that we installed. A couple of things we're going to do. We're going to change the speaker settings, or check the speaker settings. Make sure it's on 2.1, because I've only got 2 speakers, which it is. That's fine. And then we will go to... it also recommends here turn CMMS 3D off if we're not using headphones, which we're not. So we go into the EAX console, and then we will turn that off, because we're using speakers, not headphones. So they just recommend doing that if you're not using headphones. So that's what we will do. And then what I am going to do is just give it a restart. And then hopefully all those, that's all done now, and then we'll go ahead and now load our DOS drivers. Okay, so here we are now back in our CD. What we'll do is we click on DOS drivers here. First thing we want to do is change our registry, so we're just going to double click on that one there, and we're going to add that to the registry, that information, because if we don't, then apparently the Sound Blaster 16 emulation won't install properly. So then we're going to run setup now. Yes. Next. And yes, we want to restart our computer. So what it should do now is basically install all those devices that it detects. It might take a few minutes. Okay, so what we want to do is just want to double check. Actually, before we do any of that double checking, there is another thing we need to do. So in our DOS drivers, there is a file called Audigy 12, and it's an executable here. What we need to do, we just need to copy that, create a file in our C drive called Audigy 12 or 12 I should say, and just paste that in there. Okay, I'll just make sure that that's not read only. Apply, close, and then we just want to make sure that everything is on our list in our control panel, in our device manager. So I'll go to System, Device Manager, and we'll go to Sound. So as long as we've got those 4 items there, then we should be good to go. I'm just double checking all the notes here, and that should be good. We're just going to restart, and then we should be good to go. There is one more step that we need to do to run in pure DOS mode. Because when we go to DOS, it doesn't automatically have it initialized. So there's two things we can do. We can create a batch file or add it into our auto exec bat file, the executable, or we can do it as per when needed. What I normally do is I'll just add it to our auto exec bat file, and then every time I load DOS, then it should be good to go. So just rebooted there. That all looked good. There was no errors there. So I'm just going to shut down and restart in MS-DOS mode. Okay, and then I'm just going to go edit auto exec.bat. Okay, and then I am going to add a C drive. Then we had, it was in Audigy 12 slash Audigy 12.exe. Just going to save that. Save and exit out of that now. And I'm just going to hit restart. What I'll do is I'll show you what happens when we hit that executable. I'm hoping it does this when I go to the DOS prompt from Windows. I'm not sure whether it does or not. I definitely know it will do it if I boot straight into the DOS prompt there. But actually you can see there, this bit down the bottom is the bit we're looking for. So I know if I boot into the DOS prompt, that will do it. That's the executable there that needs to be run every time you run DOS or play a game or want to play a game in DOS for it to work. As I said, you can do it manually every time you boot into DOS, or you can have that executable. Now, one thing I do notice, or I have noticed previously, if I just shut down and restart in MS-DOS mode, it doesn't tend to load in this way of booting into DOS, and I'm not sure why. Maybe someone can point me in the right direction here. We'll just wait for it to come up. It certainly doesn't show it up there, so if I just go change directory here, and then I just want to go Audigy 12, and I'll just run that executable, you'll see there that comes up. Now that's what we need to see before we can play any games in DOS. So, however, if I do it that way, it doesn't come up, but by striking F8 at the right time, and I'll just wait for this to boot through. You can hear me clicking F8 there. I don't want to miss the opportunity. We get this, and if I boot into the command prompt here, which is essentially just DOS, you'll see that the auto exec bat file has run, and you can see it down the bottom there. We go, it has run. So I'm not sure why it doesn't do it when I restart, not restart, but I boot out, I go out of Windows into MS-DOS mode, as opposed to just booting directly into DOS. So it definitely works here, but if I do it the other way, then I just need to do it manually. So the auto exec bat file works this way, doesn't really work the other way. I'm not sure why, but anyway, not a big deal. But we're just going to reset back into Windows, and then we'll start loading some games and testing. Okay, so the first game we're going to test, Need for Speed 2 Special Edition. Now the reason I'm choosing this game is, one, it has good sound, and two, it also makes use of the 3D effects card as well. So it kind of kills two birds with one stone by testing this game. This should auto run. If it doesn't auto run, then we will force it to auto run by clicking in there. So we'll just install this now. Of course, there is a little kicker that you need to be aware of with installing this for 3DFX cards. Let's click next. We'll just go standard. The standard install of this game doesn't include the glide wrapper or the glide API, but it is on the CD. You just have to, when it does install, you just have to replace the standard executable one that it installs with another one that's on the installed CD, and I'll show you how to do that once this is done. So I'll let this go through, install, and then I'll show you that little bit. Okay, that is now installed. And you can see the icon down here for Need for Speed 2 SE. What we're going to need to do now is jump back into the CD, and you'll see here there is a executable called Need for Speed, or NFS2 SEA. Now the normal one it installs with is one that's labeled the same thing but SEN. What we want to do is we want to copy that SEA executable, copy that. Then we want to jump back into where we got that installed, which was under Electronic Arts, Need for Speed 2 SE. So this is where it's installed to on our hard drive, and we're just going to paste that in there. Okay, you can see there it's added at the bottom. And what we need to do is we need to come to our shortcut, go to the properties, and you'll see here this shortcut is pointing to the SEN. We need to replace it with, point it to the SEA file, which is the 3DFX executable. So just hit apply, close, and now this should run with the 3DFX logo at the start, and with the glide wrapper. It should look really good. So there we go, there's the 3DFX splash screen. And we've definitely got sound. Good. Okay, so we'll just jump into this, go to race, and I'll straight away be able to tell if the glide's working. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't. So there it is, yes, it's definitely working. I can show you the difference. So this is with the glide. You can see there it looks really nice, really smooth. And you'll notice the tyre tracks. It doesn't look all blocky and jagged like if the glide wrapper wasn't initiated. And I'll show you what I mean, what that looks like. So sounds really good. Can even hear the rain, pitter pattering away. So what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to jump out of that. I'm just going to quit. We'll jump out of it and I'll show you what it will look like if we didn't have the glide wrapper on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to point this back to the SEN file, hit apply, close, and now this is Need for Speed 2 when it's run without the 3DFX. So you can see there's no 3DFX splash screen. This all looks the same. Obviously no difference in sound. So this is what it looks like without the glide wrapper. So it's a lot more blocky, a lot more jagged, and you can see the skid marks there are a little bit different as well, not as prominent. Some people like this version or this way, but I just look when you're looking at the cars in front, there's not as much detail, and I think this is one of the games that the 3DFX really gets good use out of it. Yeah, I certainly like playing this with the glide wrapper on. can't play games all night. So what we'll do, we know that works. What we'll do now is we'll test a DOS game. So we know the 3DFX card works, we know the sound works. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab a game that's compatible in DOS and in Windows. So it can run in both environments, which will be Warcraft 2. So I'll just grab that and we'll get that installed. Okay, so I've just installed Warcraft 2 using General MIDI as the music and All32 settings as the sound effects. So I'll just run it. This is in Windows. Or run via Windows. So you can hear sound there. So it's definitely sound. Not sure if you guys can hear that or not. I'll grab it. So we've got sound, we've got music, we've got speech, all the good things we need. So no issues there. So I'm just going to exit this. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to shut down the DOS mode now. Restart an MS-DOS. Because I find this unusual. I'm obviously doing something a little bit wrong. No, not wrong, but I'm missing a step here somewhere, because if I change this now to War 2, which is the Warcraft 2 directory, and then run it, okay, there's no sound whatsoever. Nothing there, which is not a huge issue, because what I can do is I can run that executable. Okay, and then I'll just change it back to, and then I'll run it. And we've got sound. Much louder through DOS. Let's turn that down. So there's definitely sound there. If I run that executable. Now the interesting thing for me is, I'll just exit out of that because I haven't got a mouse driver installed in DOS yet. I'll just restart. Now I'll boot straight into the command prompt. Which is this one here. And you'll see that now all the Sandblaster stuff is loaded, and we'll also get that executable there that's run. And if I change the directory to War 2 and just run it directly from this command prompt, we get sound. So what I suppose I'm alluding to is I'm not sure why it does it at the command prompt there versus when I exit to DOS via Windows. But either, it doesn't really matter. I have sound in DOS, and that's the main thing. Okay, so there's probably only one more thing we need to do, and that's install the infra suite. So that's the CD-ROM, as you can see over there, the infra 52. This is the software suite for that, because I'm really keen to give this a go with the remote. So let's get this installed and see how we go. So we're just auto running now. I took away the Media Ring Talk 99. I don't need that. Let's just install the infra suite. So let's give that install, then I'll come back. Okay. That's now installed, so I've got my remote with new battery in it. So I suppose let's have a bit of a play around. I'll just see if I can get that refocus in there a little bit. It's better. So I suppose the first thing I want to do is eject, so I'm just going to try and hit the eject button here. Let's see if anything ejects. There we go.
Tray out.
It even speaks to it, says tray out. So I'll just move the camera. Ooh, you can see there. Yeah, I'll just press the button that goes in. Another cool feature about this is I can use this remote as a mouse.
Media is Creative Multimedia CD.
That's good. It actually it's going to play some songs for me from that CD. Install CD. Let's turn that off. Oh. So there is a mouse button here as well on it. I don't know if you can probably see that. It's probably a bit hard to focus in there. Mouse button.
Mouse mode.
It says mouse mode. And once again, if I can get this to focus in down here. There we are. The mouse is just about there. So I should be able to move the mouse up. You can see it moving there. And cross. So if I've lost my mouse for any reason, I can use this remote. I can open up a menu. I should be able to hit enter there. D drive. Yep. What else can we do? Just volume up and down.
Mute.
So mute.
Resume.
Resume. I'll be interested to see if this does turn the volume up and down or not. If I open up the control panel for the volume, it does. I can see the slider there going up and down. That's good. So it does have its features. I don't know all the features of this little remote, but I'm pretty happy it works. So there we have it, guys. I don't know what else to show you. Everything seems to be working fantastically well, better than expected. The install went really smoothly. Yeah, if there's any questions, feel free to comment below, because I'm interested in having a play around with this as well. I'll link everything that I used in the description, on the drivers and ISO files and whatnot, and the instructions that I used to install everything. But yeah, by all means, if you guys have any questions about the front panel, or the Audigy 2 card, or Audigy 2 ZS card, or the infra 52 CD-ROM, let me know. I'm happy to give it a play, muck around with it, and hopefully answer any questions you've got. So that's the end of the video. Apologies for the length of the video, but I don't think I could have cut it down too much more. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and until the next video, I'll see you then.